I've just got the settings so people can just hop in without me letting them in there. So welcome to the hamstring workshop. These are, we're going to run through a nice structured approach to improving your hamstring flexibility. And while we work through this, we're going to work through it together. So we're going to kind of do it as a bit of a class thing where we're going to work our reps and our sets, and we're going to work this session together, basically. And along the way, I'm going to teach you a little bit about flexibility and how to get the most out of it. I'm going to teach you some really kind of key concepts around improving pain. And we're going to just delve into those kind of areas as we work our way through. At the end of this workshop, I will send you a program with the exercises we've run through plus more. And it's about a 5 or 6 page little ebook on it. So you can start to use it as you wish. It goes through how many days how many days a week to use it for, how to structure it. It's got videos for the exercises, reps and sets, and all of that as well. So I'll email that to you probably within the next 24 hours. I'm going to do my best to edit this recording and have it in there as well, just in case you want to watch it back. But I'll see how fast I could do that. I'll send it to you at a later date if it takes a bit longer than I anticipate. So the way tonight's going to work, we are going to start off with some dynamic work. We're then going to go into static work. So what that means is we're going to warm up. We're going to move through ranges of motion to warm our tissues up. We're going to work from the spine in through the hips, obviously into the hammies, and then we're going to do some long hold yoga style stretches. And both styles of stretches give us different benefits. So usually we want to warm up before we do deep stretches, and so that's how we're going to kind of structure it today. Now, a couple considerations around hamstring flexibility is that the hamstring is a very unique muscle. It's one of a few muscles that we call biarticular muscles, and what that means is it moves 2 joints. The hamstring starts at your ischial tuberosity, which is kind of your sit bone, and it runs down behind the knee. And its actual function is to bend the knee and extend the hip. So bringing the knee behind the hip and bringing the heel towards our bum. And the reason that's important is because when we stretch it and we want flexibility out of it, we need to stretch the hip side of it and we need to stretch the knee side of it and ultimately try to do that in combination. And so when we break down our stretches, we're going to do some more what we call knee dominant stretches and more hip dominant stretches, and I'll guide you through that shortly. The other thing we have to take into consideration is that the hamstring is going to be very influenced by what happens above and below it. So, for example, our pelvis and our lower back are going to have a big influence as to how much tension we have on the hamstring. And on the lower side of the chain, the influence of the calf and the foot are going to have a big impact there as well. So when we do our stretches and our mobility, we have to actually think a little bit broader than just the hamstring. We ultimately need to think about what's going on above and below it. And in the program, I've structured it in a way that there's what I call accessory stretches. These are those stretches that address ultimately the spine, the pelvis, as well as the calf, and as well as the hip flexor as well. So when we work through it today, I'm not going to go through every exercise in the program, but we are going to hit all of those spots. So while we get started, just make sure you've got roughly 1 to 2 square meters of space on the ground near you there. And if you have ideally have a belt, a stretch belt or a towel or something with you as well. We'll need that just for one of the stretches later on. So we are going to start with our spinal motion first. So we're going to be on hands and knees, and we're going to perform a very common stretch. It's called the cat stretch. And the purpose of this stretch is to start to mobilize the spine and start to move the pelvis. And we'll see shortly that the position of your pelvis will influence the length of your hamstring. So to do this exercise, we are going to take our hand and pop it directly underneath our shoulder. And we're going to take our knee and pop it directly underneath our hip. And we are going to start with our spine in neutral, so relatively flat. And we're going to start by tucking our bum underneath, rounding and rounding and rounding our spine until our chin touches our chest. And then we're going to do the opposite, where we start to poke our bum back and extend and extend and extend until our head is fully extended, until we're looking up at the ceiling. We're going to work through these ranges. And we're going to work for about 8 to 10 reps right now at this kind of pace. So if you're just following me here, nice and steady, moving the whole spine through its full range of motion. So as we do our dynamic mobility, and you just keep moving at that pace as I talk, but as we keep these type of exercises going, we're doing two things. Number one, we're moving our joints through their full range of motion. And number two, we're activating our muscles through that range of motion as well. Now, both of those things promote flow of fluid. So in our muscles, it's primarily blood that we're promoting through those tissues. And in the joints, it's something called synovial fluid. And the reason that's important is because it provides a lot of nourishment to those tissues, and it warms them up and allows them to start to relax and allows us to get bigger and bigger ranges of motion. So it's a really nice way to start more dynamically, to just fire up the system a little bit, get it warm, and hopefully you're starting to feel that you can get bigger and bigger range as you start to warm into this. So all the way through. Now, if there's any pain or discomfort, obviously you can go to it, not through it. So if you do have pain when you extend your spine or when you round your spine, just go to that point of discomfort and then come out of it. And what you'll often find is that the pain starts to dissipate. And you keep working let's go for another 2 reps there. We should start to be feeling kind of warm through the back there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hop onto our back, and we're going to do something called a windscreen wiper. Now, this is primarily for the hips, but also for the lower spine. So you can see me there. We're going to start on our back, head rested on the ground, knees at about 90 degrees, and our hands are going to be out in a T position with our palms down. And what we're going to do here now is we're going to roll our spine from side to side. So just rolling, trying to get the knees to the ground. And we want to try avoid, if we can, letting the opposite shoulder come off the ground. Now, if you are tight in the back, in the hips or in the shoulders, you may very well find that the shoulder on the opposite side wants to come off, which is perfectly fine for now. The ideal eventually, as you get more flexible with it, is that we can keep the shoulder on the ground. Now, you might find that you want to hold your breath on this one. It's very common with twisting exercises that you might feel you want to hold the breath. Keep going while I hop up here. What we really want to do is try to remain as relaxed as we can and focus on nice, relaxed breathing. If we find that we're holding our breath, it ultimately means that our brain and our body is in a bit more of a protective state. So we want to think about nice, relaxed, deep breathing, because that means that those tissues are relaxed, the body's in a more relaxed state to get more flexible. Keep going for me there. Let's go for another 2 on each side, so another 4 reps all up. All right. Okay, so now we've warmed up the spine, we are going to stand up. And we are going to start with a dynamic hamstring stretch. So what we're going to start with is a hip hinge. And we're going to start with a hip hinge with our feet parallel to each other. So just this position here. And then after that, we're going to do something called a B stance hip hinge, where we've got one leg in front of the other. Now, this is going to target the hip side of that hamstring. So you will feel it generally, you'll feel it in the belly, but you'll also likely feel it up towards the glute as well. So standing with your feet about hip width apart, hands on hips, and we're going to do a little hinge back. So what that actually means is we're reaching our bum back. You can see my shins are still vertical, relatively vertical. We don't want our knees over toes. We really want our knees above our feet, above our ankles, and we want that nice flat back. And we're looking to feel a kind of a stretch through the back of our hamstrings here. So that's your starting position just there. From here, we're going to just stand back up, and then we're just going to repeat that motion. And on each stretch, we're going to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. So as you go down, reach your bum back, reach your bum back, reach your bum back. Feel that stretch through the hamstring. And we want to push our feet into the ground to come back up. All the way back, all the way back, all the way back. And up. We're going to go for 3 more here. Keep the back flat. Now, what you might notice is if you round your spine, you're going to lose that hamstring tension. And if you arch your back all the way back, you're going to really increase. So that's the influence of the pelvis on the hamstring. The more rounded we are, the less stretch we're going to get. The more arched we are, the more stretch we're going to get in this position here. Okay, standing back up. Let's shake it off a little bit. Just shake your legs a bit. Just kind of get a bit of blood flow back through there. Now we're going to do the same thing, except this time I want you to take your right leg back just a little bit. We're not in a lunge, so we're not all the way back, just so that the front part of your back leg and the back part of your front leg are only a few centimeters distant from each other there. And now we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to try to keep that front leg nice and straight as we reach back, and we should be feeling a deep stretch on the left hamstring this time. And we're going to go nice and deep through there, reach the butt back, 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 and up. I'm going to go 3 more, all the way back. Deep stretch. And if you're not feeling the stretch, just make sure you're neutral in the spine. Deep, deep stretch. Beautiful. I'm going to come back up. We're going to swap to the other side. Now, this time, I'm just going to show you from a front view. You're going to take your left leg back a little bit, hands on hips, and we're going to come back. I'm keeping my chest up as I go back and back up. I'll just come back a little bit there. So chest up, feeling that stretch right through that right hamstring. And up. Now, you might hear a bit of background noise because our neighbors upstairs are about to start dancing. The dancers up there. So if it gets a little bit noisy or you hear a few bumps and creaks, that's them jumping around. Good. 2 more. Good. And last one. Good. Okay. All right. Again, let's shake it out a little bit. Now, the next one in the standing sequence is something called an elephant walk. Now, this one is very similar to the last 2. However, this one is going to target more of the nerves. So we're actually going to feel the stretch more through the back of the leg as opposed to in the muscle here. It's going to feel a little bit different. And so the way we're going to do this one is we're going to do the same hip hinge like we've started with our feet parallel this time though. And I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to straighten it right back so it's completely extended through there. And this one should give you a deep, almost like a nervy stretch behind the knee. And we're going to alternate from side to side. We're going to hold it for 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, relax. Opposite side. I'll show you from the front. You keep going. But we're going to go straight leg on that left side here. And relax. So the stretch should feel very different. Should be more intense. And it should absolutely feel like a nervy stretch, one that you don't want to spend a huge amount of time in. Alternating 3 seconds. We're going to do 2 more on each side. Good, last one. All right, let's stand up. Now let's just do a bit of a back extension here. So hands on hips. Let's just bend backwards. Just a couple little pulses. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. All right. just do a little check-in now. Just do a little toe touch. Just kind of test yourself a little bit. Reach down towards your toes. See what your range is like. It'll likely feel pretty good. Might feel we should have tested at the beginning, but likely you should be able to kind of get your fingers down towards your toes there. So that's our dynamic sequence. Now, there's more to it. There's more options in the program. However, for tonight's purposes, they're kind of like the main ones. They're the ones that I use often in the clinic and I think give biggest kind of bang for your buck. So now we're going to go into the second phase of the program, which are our static stretches. So these are our yoga style stretches where we're actually going to hold each stretch for about 2 minutes. It's quite a long time to stretch out. But we know in the research in the science world that stretching for 2 to 5 minutes is really the optimal kind of timeline to hold for, because it gives the system enough time to kind of relax, habituate or get used to the stretch. And that's often when we feel like the stretch intensity actually drops off, when we can go into a deeper range. For many people, they stretch for too little a time. They'll stretch for 10 seconds or 20 seconds, which is great. However, it's not giving the body enough time to really relax into the stretch. So we're going to start with something called a supine glute stretch. So this is for the outer glute and for the lower back. And I'm going to get my timer going here. So for this one, we're going to start on our back, laying down. We're going to straighten our left leg out, take our right leg with our left hand, and we're going to roll. And then we're going to turn our head to the opposite direction. I'll show you a different angle in a second. We're going to turn our head in the opposite direction and hand right out. And we're looking to feel this stretch on the outer part of the glute, on the right glute in this position here. Just hang there for now. I'm going to just show you a different angle just so it makes kind of sense. So on our back, right leg goes up and over. Right hand goes out to the side. And we're twisting and we're holding. So let's get you in that position. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to relax. And I want you to focus on some breathing while we're here. So I'll get my timer going there. We want to take some deep breaths in. So we're going to breathe in for 3 seconds, in through our nose. And then we're going to breathe out through our mouth for 3 seconds. And that's how I want you to breathe now. We've got another just over a minute to go. It's deep breathing. And with every exhale, try soften into the stretch a little bit more. Try get a bit of a deeper stretch. Try relax everything in your body. Relax your opposite arm. Let your head feel a bit heavy into the ground. And on every exhale, a little bit deeper. Five more seconds. Good. We're going to come out of that one slowly onto our back, and we're going to go straight into the other side. So this time, straighten your right leg. Left knee comes up in the air. We're going to roll and rotate, twisting to the opposite side. Let's close our eyes. Deep breath in. 3 seconds. Breath out. Really soften the body on that exhale. Try to get a deep, deep stretch. Pull that knee further if you're feeling like it's releasing well. So the intensity of the stretch matters as well. We don't want so light a stretch that it doesn't feel like we're doing much. And likewise, we don't want a stretch intensity that's so heavy that you have to hold your breath or you're feeling like you're grinding your teeth. But you do want what you do want is you want an intensity that you can feel like you're being effective, but you can maintain regular breathing, or if you were talking to somebody, you could maintain a conversation pretty comfortably. So just like I'm stretching now, I can feel a really deep stretch in my glute and a bit in my lower back. However, I can talk normally to you. That's kind of the balance we want. So if it's too intense, we have to hold our breath. The body goes into protective mode. It's not really doing what you think it's doing. We need the body to stay relaxed through that intensity. All right, slowly coming out. Let's get our feet onto the ground. Let's just do a little glute bridge. So lift the bum right up in the air. Just activate those glutes a bit. Squeeze your butt cheek like you had a coin between your butt cheeks there. And coming back down. Okay, so that's for the glutes. The second one we're going to do in our stretches is going to be for our thoracic spine, for our mid-back and for our lats. So this is called a child's pose. And the way that we're going to do our child's pose is we're going to pop our bum on our heels. We're going to reach our arms forward and reach and reach. You want to keep your bum down on your heels, but reach your fingertips. And this is going to help you stretch the spine. But very much so, we're looking to feel it a bit in your lats as well. And if you want to, you can walk your hands over to the left-hand side a bit and see if you can get that deep lat stretch. So while the lats aren't directly connected to the hamstrings, they are involved in the posterior chain. And the posterior chain is just those groups of muscles in the back part of our body that all kind of work together. So this comes back to our discussion right at the beginning, that if we're going to address our hamstring flexibility, yes, we need to stretch the hammy, of course, but we also have to address those tissues above and below it. So deep breathing here again, 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. We're going to do 1 minute on each side here. You can walk your fingers further away from your body if you need more of a stretch. All right, now we're going to walk our hands to the other side, walking over to your right-hand side, trying to create that nice big C curve. And we're going to reach our fingertips. Keep your bum as close to your heels as you can, but reach those fingertips so we get a deep stretch on that lat. Stretch it out. Walk a little bit further if you're finding it's improving. This one can also be a bit of a harder one to breathe in because we're in quite a compressed abdominal position. But still try that deep breathing. All right, let's walk our way back into the middle slowly, slowly. And then we're going to walk up into our upright position. All right, so we should have got a really nice stretch down the lat in the shoulders there. So our final stretch for the evening is my favorite stretch, and this is the one you're going to need your towel or your belt for. So if you just want to take a moment and grab that. So we use these, they're called stretch belts, but a big bath towel or a beach towel or something works just fine as well. So this is called a 3-position hamstring stretch. We're going to hold each position tonight for 30 seconds. So it's going to be about a 90-second stretch on the left, and then we're going to do about 90 seconds or so on the right. Yeah, let me show you how it is. So you're going to lay on your back. We're going to take the belt or the towel, whatever you've got. We're going to do our right leg first. We're going to pop our foot through here. And we are going to start the first position of the 3 is going to be a straight leg just like that. And we're simply going to rest our head. We're going to pull up until we feel that kind of 7 out of 10 intensity stretch, that intensity that you feel like it's a good stretch, but you can talk normally or at least maintain regular breathing. I'm going to show you a few options. So you just keep stretching here. Now, if you want to increase the stretch even more, you can straighten your opposite leg, and that increases a bit of the tension there. I trained my hamstrings over the weekend pretty hard, so mine are pretty tight today. But you'll find whatever you got. We're going to pull down, holding deep in that position there. This one's very common to feel more at the back of the leg, almost that nervy type stretch as well. If you want it more in the belly, you just bend your knee a little bit more and pull up a little bit more, and you'll likely feel it more through the belly of the hamstring. For me, I quite like the stretch, the intensity about there. That seems to hit a tight spot for me. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand and we're going to kind of just tie it through a little bit, and we're going to let the leg drop directly out to the side, all the way out. Now this one here, I'm going to straighten my opposite leg, is going to stretch more of the inner hamstring, what's called the semimembranosus, semitendinosus, they're the inner hammies, and your adductor muscles a little bit as well. So we're going to drop off to that side. We're going to hold in that position. You might want to pull the foot up a little bit towards your head as well, but we definitely should be feeling that much more on the belly of the muscle, and it should be a bit more on the inner part of the hamstring or the thigh. If you are tight in your adductors, you'll very likely feel that more in the groin area, and that's fine. We're going to hold here. Again, opposite leg can be bent or it can be straight. And this one, often you'll find you'll be able to pull right up into a bit more intensity than the other side, or than the middle one. All right, now what we're going to do is the third position of the 3 positions. Now for this one, we're going to straighten the left leg. This one is much more intense. We're going to let the leg come across the body. I've now swapped my hands with the belt, but across the body, and this one will likely feel a bit more neural, a bit more nervy, and a bit in the glute there as well. Just holding that position right there. Good. You'll keep going there. I can just see a little flashing thing on my camera that I'm a little concerned about, which is the battery. Should be okay. So we're going to hold for another 15, 20 seconds. All right, we're going to come out of there and we're going to swap to the other side. So now we're on the left-hand side. Same thing on our back. Straight leg. We're going to pull up. Your right leg can either be bent or it can be straight out. Holding nice and tight. 7 out of 10 intensity. And let's drop it out wide, so out to the left. This is for that inner thigh again. You can pull up a little bit as well. I'm going to go with a straight leg there. Feeling that inner thigh stretch. can see I can pull up a little bit more. You'll get a little bit more out of this type of stretch. Excellent. And we're going to come up and across back into the middle first. And then we're going to go across the body, swapping hands with the belt. And we're going to get a good stretch here. And again, this is that bit more nervy, might even be a little bit up at the glute. You'll just see where you hold your tension. And let's go back to our breath work. 3 seconds inhale. And 3 exhale. Some people find these longer stretches hard because their brain wants to go in different directions, but I think it's really important and really good skill to be able to switch the brain off a little bit, or at least start just to practice that little bit of stillness. Very important for the nervous system to down-regulate and just to calm the body, is to be able to hold these stretches for a few minutes. Switch the brain off, not feel like you want to check your phone, not feel like it's, not feeling like you're getting too bored in these stretches, really. It's not that long a time, but it's very good to down-regulate the body. All right, we'll bend our knee. We'll come back into the middle. All right, let's stand back up. And shake our legs a little bit. And just do another little test on yourself. And I can feel definitely my palms are close to the ground. Should feel quite good and quite loose through the back of the legs there. Perfect. So we are spot on for that 30 minutes, which is unusual for me. So we started with dynamic work. We worked through some spinal stuff and things up and down the chain a little bit. And then we're going to finish with some more long static stretches. Now, that was about a half-hour session, about 20, 25 minutes, we'll say. In the program, you're just going to work for about 15 minutes. You'll just pick out certain exercises. You can do 10 to 15 minutes. You can absolutely do more if you wish to. My recommendation is to try do this 3 times a week. That's what will make a big, big difference. If you can do it about 3 times a week with a variety of different exercises in the program, and stick with it for long enough. Stretching, just like any form of exercise, really is dependent on how long you stick with it and ensuring the intensity for the stretch is correct as well. So make sure you're consistent with it if you really want to have a big impact on your hammies. And if you have any questions whatsoever with the program, or if you want some technique feedback on anything, just flick me a message on Instagram or send me an email. It's all in the little ebook there. And yeah, just see how you go. But really, hopefully you enjoyed tonight, and hopefully you give this a good crack, because it can make a huge difference to how you feel, obviously through the hammies, but it also helps to improve back pain, and it just generally improves your function as a whole as well.